everyone, good evening.
Hi. Good. I'm good. How are you, Chief?
How are you doing? Very well. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us. So I'm just going to take a minute
Sure.
to kind of
Just before that,
introduce you and
am I
then leave it to
visible
you
properly,
to
or should
start with
I
your
just
UPSC
my
journey.
screen? Is it okay? Okay, great. All right.
Screen is okay, audible is all great.
Sure.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining in. Alright, so we have Love with us, who has been a UPSC aspirant, who's had a couple of experiences with the UPSC interview as well, and who currently is in the government, so a government lateral with the Ministry of Skill Development. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his journey, what it was like to prepare for the UPSC exam, what he took from it, moving on from that, and then back to the government and working in government.
Thank you.
So welcome, Love. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for being to speak to us. And I believe this is going to be a very honest, freewheeling sort of conversation, which a lot of aspirants can take from. And yes, I am going to begin with the first thing that I would want to know. How did you start preparing for the exam, and why did it strike you? Because you're an engineer, and we've had an earlier conversation where you talk about your engineering days. And so from there, how did you decide to
Great.
get
So thank you
the
so much for this warm introduction. And at the outset, I would like to congratulate Sargam and you, Jeel, for such a great community building effort. This was required since ages, I would say, and you guys are taking it forward now. It's amazing. So congratulations to you and the community altogether who is joining along with you. So this is actually what was required since long. Why UPSC? Okay, that's a question which I don't think anybody has
Thank you so
been able to answer 100% correctly in a decade's time that I know, but okay, I'll try. So for me, it started with, sort of pursuing excellence, sort of getting to the create an impact, being at the national canvas, you get opportunities to work and in areas where you would not be able to work otherwise if you're not a part of that bureaucracy or the bureaucratic arrangement. Doing meaningful work, as all of us, we would rather gain motivation from our work and not just by the salary that we are driving out of it. So, of course, the kind of motivating work that we do once we are part of the Indian bureaucracy system, that was another. Am I audible, Jeel? Is the audio going clear?
It's clear now.
Great.
You're audible.
So,
Go ahead.
Some of the reasons were these. From that, of course, public policy is an area of interest to me always. And I thought, what better than UPSC to drive this interest forward? So, of course, that was another reason. And challenging yourself, or challenging myself rather, has been, something that I really take up with different sort of assignments. So this was another, and this became rather the biggest challenge which I took in my life. So yeah, these were some points on which I would like to touch upon, that why I started the UPSC preparation at first. I think I'm losing you.
I think there is some.
Yeah, is it okay now? I'm losing you in the middle. Is it okay?
Can you come? Yeah, even I was losing in the middle. It seems okay now. Can people who are there, part of the live, can you just let us know if we are audible and visible? Just thumbs up, please. Someone.
There's some sort of a lag from your end. I don't know whether it is because of my network or I don't know what. I'm not very sure.
No,
All right. I
Not
think people can
raining
hear
here,
us. So,
but it usually happens when it rains. It's not raining. So I don't know. Anyhow, uh, yeah, we can hear just fine. That's what I am reading. Right. All right. So, love, thank you for that. And how did you? We've spoken earlier, and you mentioned mental health issues and issues while preparing. So, what are the things that you faced psychologically, mentally while preparing? And then when you decided that maybe you have to move on to something else, even then, like was it a psychologically taxing sort of transition?
all right. So, as you know, this is one of the toughest exams in the country, and you work and you toil for almost 16 to 18 hours. You read so much. You keep preparing, keep writing. It takes quite a lot of preparation, as everybody who is preparing is aware. So, and also it is like it's like a snake and ladder sort of an arrangement where there are three stages. You even if you pass the first two, and you get short of maybe mark or two in the final sum up, you get down. So that sorts you don't get credits for your journey in this. So of course, once you start preparing, you have some ambition. You would want to see yourself in the list. And once you think that you've made the cut to the interviews, at least you would start feeling that okay, I have it maybe to possibly see myself in the list, and if not, okay, then maybe you can gather yourself again and then give the attempt all over again. However, these cycles sort of burn you out, I would say, rather. I mean, that's what happened with me as well. So what keeps you going, or what keeps you driven is sort of the result, which is actually a great sort of opportunity. What sorts of makes you sulk, or not give you 100% is that even despite giving you 100% and more than that, at times it boils down to the scaling system, to the choice of the optional, to sort of a lot of things. So I was somebody who was totally anti luck before I started UPSC preparation. Not say so now. So that is also a factor. Once you cut the you are above that particular threshold of being in that sort of category of clearing the mains. So even that kicks in. So yeah, a lot of sleepless nights. I would say a lot of sort of frustration creeps in. You would get a lot of ideas about doing this or that instead of actually preparing for UPSC, going for some sort of a job or a further study, and leaving the process in between. But you have to, just by the idea of you making it big one day, you actually keep going. So that burnout actually sort of takes a lot away from you, away from your prime years of your life. Because of course, while you're preparing, you start by when you're 21, 22, or even before that in some cases, and then you go on till, in my case, it was like almost 30. So it was a decade-long preparation. So it takes quite a lot of mental toil. Nobody talks about that. I'm sure there are a lot of people, old Rajendra Nagar, Mukherjee Nagar, big cities of the country who are preparing, who are facing the same currently. So my advice to these people would be, you should have a plan B ready, of course. You should have other interest areas. You should exercise. You should have hobbies. You should go out, party with friends once a week or once a fortnight. You should have, other elements to your life. Because if you don't, this exam is capable of burning you out and, sort of wreaking havoc in your life. So that is there. Yeah.
So can I say you faced some sort of self-doubt at various points in time, and just for the benefit of the listeners, viewers, how did you deal with self-doubt that may have crept up after each process ending, and then like you said, snakes and ladders, you come back to square one. So how was your whole journey dealing with self-doubt that time, and how do you deal with it this time? Like, do you think you're better at handling failure, self-doubt, those sort of things today?
Jay, I'm losing you, and I can hear you in bits and pieces, but for whatever I can hear, I will try and respond to this question. So yeah, as correctly points there are a lot of episodes of self-doubt. Can the listeners hear me? If somebody can just give a thumbs up, that would be really helpful. Okay, so I think we can. The audio is going through.
Okay now.
So basically, there were a lot of episodes of self-doubt, as you correctly pointed out, because this is such a toil that at times when you don't finally make it to the list, you think that, am I doing it correctly? Is this the way to go about it? With me, it was never like, am I intelligent enough? I don't know whether it is sort of arrogance or something, but that didn't come. So the only point which was, am I doing it correctly? Maybe, is this attempt enough? Should I go for the next attempt? I mean, should I change the subject? All these things. So this comes in. I was never I would not say the best at handling self-doubt and, all those emotions. I think that was one of my weak areas. I would not say it was one of my strong areas. However, when you, make that transition in the journey, when you actually start sort of, giving more and more years to this process, you actually triggers all these negative emotions in you, and sort of how to deal. So yeah, that happens. And with me, the major I would say paradigm shift which happened was my actually going to my B school, which was IRMA, as I think we've discussed, Jeel, Institute of Rural Management, Anand, where I did my MBA from. And that was very, very similar to, the kind of preparation that I was doing, because it is a cross-cutting institution between public policy, development administration, and business administration. So I took that conscious step that even while I'm actually studying in that college, I will keep preparing for civils and keep giving those attempts. So, that actually helped me a lot in sort of dealing with all this emotional distress and, because I also never lived in the hostel. I was a day scholar when I was doing my engineering. So my hostel experience in IRMA was fantastic. It's a beautiful campus. It's, as you know, it was set up by the milkman of India, Dr. Kurian. It has so many shades to it, such beautiful, campus, great professors, great curriculum. It was an experience of its own kind, and that actually helped me come out of this emotional distress and again rechannel my energies to the UPSC preparation. And I think that was a good step, I would say, if I look at it today, rather the best step which I took in this whole preparation journey. So yeah, that was one major thing that I did.
Right. Do you also want to tell us a little bit about why you chose IRMA? Because I was very curious, and we spoke about this earlier. I think it will benefit a lot of aspirants to know why an MBA of that sort can be something that they can look at as another option, or as an option for them to develop a career in the public policy space.
So I was having multiple options, I would say. The options I had with me while I appeared for CAT were as follows, in the order. I had MDI Gurgaon, which is one of the finest. I had IMT. I had some new IIMs, including the IIM in Rohtak in Ranchi. Then, of course, I had IRMA. I had TIS as well, which Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So this choice was rather easy for me because into the campus and I saw what sort of program they're delivering and what is their intent of chalking out, this trajectory for rural managers. This is a whole new paradigm altogether, because, if you cannot just compare it to any other program which is offered in the country, apart from a few which are again on the rural management lines, which are offered by XIMB, XISS, and a few others, I believe. So, although they call it rural management, I would say this is actually public policy management, or it is sort of a blend of public administration and business administration. So that sorts, once you're there, and also the legacy of this whole institution, the father of the white revolution, and this is, I mean, I would say he's somebody who's given much more to the country than possibly any other bureaucrat has. I'm sure there are few bureaucrats who are of his stature. I'm sure there are, but if you look at Dr. Kurian, he was, I would not say he was a government lateral. He was a phenomena in himself, but he was actually somebody who guided and motivated so many people around him in creating an institution like Amul, which all of us know, and not just Amul, the National Dairy Development Board, the Mother Dairy, and other such cooperative models. Passion and sort of, drive to join this campus. And trust me, the 2 years I have spent there have been the most fantastic 2 years of my life. I think some of my juniors are also joining in and looking at the session today, and I want to wish them best of luck because uh, they've already done the best part of 2 years of their life, and now it is all about implementation of what they've learned in those 2 years. Yeah.
Right. So, if anyone has questions, I can see some questions. But while we come to that, you've also had the opportunity to work at the Niti Aayog. How did that happen, and what was your experience like?
As you know, Niti Aayog is the premier think tank of the government of India, and major policy designs happen there. It is what the erstwhile planning commission was, and although the financial powers have been lessened, the other powers still stay. So it was working at a macro level at the hem of affairs. So with me, what happened was once I completed my MBA, I basically, once you perform decently well enough in IRMA, you generally get absorbed by Amul. They're day -7 recruiters, not even day 0. So that happened, and sort of, I sort of enjoyed and not really at the same time kind of the work I was doing at Amul. So it was both ways. It was more of sales and marketing. In the meanwhile, I also filled up the position for Niti Aayog, and luckily I got through. I don't know, luck favors you at wrong places, not where you want it to. So yeah, that happened, and there were so many other good people who came in for the interviews. There were Harvard graduates and other people, and somehow I made it. So that was really good luck. So once I was in, I was with the Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office, which is the overarching monitoring and evaluation unit of the Government of India. It was crazy. Let me tell you, it was like the monitoring and evaluation of the whole government of India, like all the CS and CSS programs. So, which is the centrally sponsored, and as you're aware already, you guys know because you guys are mostly from that fraternity. So that was one. We got to work on the outcome budget, which is like the what we would read about when you were reading subjects like public administration, political science. So I got to work on the output outcome monitoring framework, which was the first in the country. Now it goes with the annual financial statement, which is the budget every year. I will not lose an opportunity to flaunt my knowledge wherever I can. So just saying annual financial statement and not the budget. So yeah, so that was one great sort of achievement that we developed that sort of output outcome monitoring framework with a small team that we had. Then you get so many good opportunities. For example, we worked on the Global Mobility Summit, and there were reports which were prepared. I was the nodal of some. I was lucky enough to present one of the report to the Prime Minister in Vigyan Bhavan. So that was great. I was given this opportunity of anchoring the monitoring of National Rural Livelihood Mission, which had a biannual monitoring at the PMO. So that was another very big opportunity. So if I keep talking about it, there are endless things that I did in 3 years stint there, and it is amazing. So it was a beautiful journey. And my sort of rural development background gave me sort of an advantage with the CEO, because CEO is really inclined towards rural development, and at times he was such a man. Now he's obviously the G20 Sherpa, as all of you know. He was somebody who actually drove this concept of government laterals in the country. And at times he would not call the advisor of rural development, and instead called me. So, that was actually very, very courageous. He was that man. If he knew, okay, this chap knows something, he would rather learn it from you, even if you are 30 years younger to him. So such sort of courage and, such sort of these characteristics you don't see in bureaucrats generally. But when you talk about Sir Amitabh Kant, that's what I call him. Sorry, I'm not from the British era, but yeah, he is a gem of a person, and he's amazing. So today he's doing even better for himself. He's the G20 Sherpa, and that's what he deserves. It was also, one of the biggest things that I got to work on was the 10,000 FPOs EFC note, which is basically the farmer producer organizations which are coming up in the country. And being a rural manager myself, this was one of the most proud moments. Another very proud moment for me was I took Amitabh Khan to one of the convocation ceremonies of IRMA. And he presented there, and he was there for almost 4 to 5 hours, and that was amazing. So all these things give you a smile on your face, and it's just like you can also give at least something back to the campus, if not everything, of course. So Niti was wonderful. I can go on and on. I mean, there were so many evaluation studies we were part of. ENAM, which is the National Agriculture Market, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, the scholarship schemes for the PMO. So the experience it gives you, it actually transforms you, and especially somebody like me who has the interest in the public policy domain and who wanted to be a bureaucrat. With me, it was more of an inclination towards the Indian police service. But yeah, because I had a subject which is public administration, you become that sort of self-acclaimed public policy expert. Okay, so yeah, so once you get those opportunities working in an institution like Niti Aayog, nothing better than that. It was not the most, I would put IRMA at number 1, Niti Aayog at number 2 rather. Yeah, still.
Right. It's very interesting to know that you wanted to join the Indian Police Service, because I wouldn't otherwise gauge. So there is one question that I also think we should take. How useful is MBA in actual work in the government? How useful was your management degree?
So I'm sure that everybody knows that government does things differently, but still it is the part of the same social fabric, same ecosystem. It does not, it does not have superpowers, although it is a monopolist, but it still works in the management way of things. So, things like public administration, public policy, all of these have roots not only in the political science, but also in the management part of it, which is the business administration part of it. So government has its own governance, systems. It has its own legal systems, your financial systems. All of this you read in your management degree. Any management degree, I would say, not just the one that I did, which was the rural management. Even if you do a general management course, you read about everything which the government generally does in different capacities. However, they will not call it government specific because it's not a public policy program. So everything that applies to a good business enterprise in today's era also applies to the government if it has to be efficient. We all know about the new public management. We all know about good governance. So these things are coming from successful business ventures. Also, not just business. There are a lot of things which are taken from initially it was taken from the military history, if you see. So it started from there. It started from the scientific endeavors. Then it went on to the technological endeavors. Now it is also going to the management models and paradigms which exist in the world, and even government is borrowing heavily from it. So any management degree which will actually enable you to work with the government, I would say. And there are some specific programs like what I did at IRMA, like what happens at maybe a TIS, or what happens at Delhi School of Economics, or maybe IIM Bangalore Public Policy Program. Such programs are actually more specialized, which tend to prepare managers for the government. Although in my view, because I've also read public administration, much of what we read in management is what is in public administration. So it is all the common, not a major difference.
Right. So for people who want to pursue a career in public policy after having prepared for the UPSC and want to move on, you would suggest MBA as a
I would say if you're very confident on
career in public policy, right?
Working with the government, and you really want to chalk a trajectory in working with the government, then you should either go with a specialized sort of a program that I undertook. That is what I would suggest, because if you take any other program, and then in that case it should be from a very good institution, because what happens in institutions like Niti Aayog, whenever they interview people, they would rather see which reputed institution are you from, or do you have a specialized sort of a degree? So there are some sort of lenses that still apply. So either you do it from a very, very good institution, which can be, of course, IIM Ahmedabad, Calcutta, Bangalore, Lucknow, and then possibly sort of build a CV around government projects, having live projects, doing, sort of engaging with the state government, central government in different capacities as an intern and research associates, and then going further. Or you do a specialized program like I did, and then possibly find your way to the government. So these are the two routes, I would say.
Right. All right. So people can continue asking questions. You can add comments, and we will take the questions as and when we can in the conversation. So for now, I was thinking if Love, you could tell us a little bit about your experience in the skill domain, largely because we consider UPSC preparation to be a journey which where we're constantly studying and reading and analyzing, but there's not much skill development. And because you've seen a space where you've now worked very closely with upskilling and skills, what is it that you think we don't develop as UPSC aspirants? And what sort of skills are desirable in the world of work?
Of course.
Like if you have any.
So I will start from a step backwards, rather. The reason I moved from Niti Aayog to this current project that I'm in was twofold. One, that my CEO asked me to, that he wanted somebody from the team of Niti to go to the Ministry of Skill Development and raise the new National Skills Regulator. That was number one. Number two, it was about the whole idea of skilling in parallel to the education, education, which is school education, higher education, etc., which was not actually taking up so in a good way in the country. I mean, it was just existing. I would say skill development was sort of existing since the independence times. There was some ITIs here and there, and things like that. So there was a chance of being a part of an institution which was being raised of the order of UGC or AICTE, as everybody is aware. It is University Grants Commission, and AICTE is All India Council for Technical Education. The same institution you were supposed to be a part of and sort of raise it eventually to become the National Skills Regulator. I made up my mind. I moved there. I also had an opportunity from the BCG. Everybody knows BCG, so it's a big group. And that was another one. So rather than, of course, running after the monetary remuneration, I chose this. Yeah. So, skill development is such a big area. It is cross-cutting, cross-sectoral. It is, as Jill talked about, the world of work is changing. The future skills are emerging. And, there are so many employability skills, entrepreneurial skills, technology skills, community skills, social skills, environmental skills, which are required in today's era, which need a good scientific way of developing those and then facilitating training programs across these skills where people can actually either find some sort of placements or they can have their own self-employment. So this was again a big chapter where you had to develop this institution which will facilitate not only creation of such institutions for training and assessment, but also approve the curriculum which was actually being run. So we have the National Skills Qualification Framework, NSQF. People who are interested in the skill development should definitely read about it. It's a competency and outcome-based curriculum framework where each skill is pegged at levels, various levels, starting from level 1 to level 10. And today we've shortened it from level 10 to level 8 basically to match it with the international standards. So level 8 for a general, this thing telling you it is like a PhD degree. Level 1 is like a informal semi-skilled worker. So that is the sort of levels that we have there, and then the framework talks about complete entry requirements, sort of exposure that person should get. What are the outcomes learning outcomes that person should have once he or she passes that particular certification, etc. Without going too much in detail, because this can actually complicate things. It's not a one session kind of a job to actually explain this. I would say it is in India. Very simply, I can put it like this. the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship came back almost a decade back, and NSDC was floated then as a PPP. And now, since the last 3 years, the national regulator is in place. So skill development is actually taking the paths that it should have taken maybe 2 decades back in the country, at least never late than, sort of never. So sort of that is where we stand today. And here also we are working on so many good projects, like we're developing the national credit framework. Now this is something where a person earns credits for not only skilling, but education, which can be school education, higher education, and also the work experience. So there's a three-pronged axis where the person can work either in an industry, he can be studying, or he can take a skill course, and then whatever credit he or she earns will go to the academic bank of credits, and the person can move seamlessly from skilling to education, education to work, and vice versa. So we're also developing things like these. I'm also working on future skills where, all the industry 4.0, 5.0 skills are being mapped and, across sectors. For example, we are also developing drones for agriculture. We are developing new institutions for agriculture, like the farmer producer organizations in different capacities. So skill development is vast, and it is such that it sort of gives you that opportunity to work at that national level where you can make and induce that change. So for me, it has been a great experience working here.
So since you mentioned future skills, would you like all of us to know of any skills in particular that people can develop while they are preparing, so that in the case that they need to transition, they have a handy skill set that will be useful?
So the one basic difficulty with our sort of frameworks that we have around us today in the country is it is not the on-demand assessment that is there. So you have you need a qualification to prove your worth. So or you can have some sort of a certification. But now, because we are living in the era where there are edutech companies which give you a certification, I would actually talk about skills which can get you or fetch you a certification. For example, project management. That is one area where you can take a PMP certification and you can actually use it in whatever capacity you're working. You're working with the government, non-government sector, private sector, PPP. Project management course will definitely help you. So this is one particular skill set. Apart from that, any sort of soft skills that you develop or skills with respect to technology upgradation that you developed, which can be, sort of data analytics. It can be sort of skills with respect to, developing MISs, which is management information system, which work, again, government, non-government, wherever. The skills can be of the order of, even I would say government is so open today that even somebody who's learning coding and who's not an engineer is also welcome to deploy his or her skills at the right capacity when that person finds that kind of a right job. But that is sort of an exception still. The generic examples are again that I gave: project management, data analytics, technology interfaces, technology frameworks, MISs, etc. Then you can also have short-term training programs. For example, even if I talk about my own discipline, which is rural development, there is NIRD, National Institute of Rural Development, which gives you a year's program on rural development. It's a diploma, a year diploma on rural development. You have certification programs in public policies from IIM Lucknow, as I know, from IIM Bangalore. They have floated these programs very recently. You can undertake these programs. These are also some good programs. Now, my only disgruntlement with the whole system today is, which I also discussed with my current chairperson of my national regulator, is we learn so much in the UPSC preparation, and we do not have on-demand assessment to establish that we know this much. If I was given a chance, trust me, I would get a double MPA today, which is Masters of Public Administration, or anybody who's reading for public administration and appearing for the interviews, or even reaching the main stage. If that is available, you have infinite number of skills which you can give an assessment for, and basically have them ready for putting them in your CV or when you're going to work with the industry tomorrow. So that sort of on-demand assessment, if it comes in, until then, these organizations, edutech companies and giants, and see if they have a relevant program for you. in which you think you are a master, or at least not a master, or even sort of, you want to have a foundation level sort of a skill set there. So that is what it is today. But tomorrow I would want an on-demand assessment, especially to facilitate people like us who have been preparing so hard and we don't get a certification for it. So yeah.
No, that's very true, and we're hoping that we get to a point where that sort of assessment happens in the near future, not too far away, sometime sooner. Yeah. Okay, so there was another question that I had, which was with respect to the things that you may have learned or picked up during the preparation, and if there are any such, traits, skills, any habits like reading the newspaper every day, anything that you carry from your preparation phase to your professional life today also, and if you want to shed light on that.
Actually, Jeel, there are so many that if I start, I think that'll take 2 hours. Because, the whole schooling aside, the higher education aside, what actually has made me what I am today is the preparation. You won't believe in standard 10th. If my best friend is also listening, he would be here. I'm not sure. Zan Siddiqui, he was my buddy in standard 10th. There was a sort of an exercise where my class teacher called upon everyone to stand on the stage and deliver about what is to be written on your epitaph, which is the last words on your grave. You won't believe I fumbled like 20 times. I could not say a word. So, UPSC journey took me from that to in my IRMA, I sort of anchored a TED event. So that sort of public speaking skills. I never actually was into public speaking. Rather, I was not too much into debates and elocution, but the sort of vast reading that you do, so much, multidisciplinarity, cross-cutting reading that you do, makes you so confident to face the world. Not face the world, I would say the world is not your enemy, that's a wrong word. Sort of, gel along with people, understand people, sort of develop that emotional intelligence and keep your fears behind. That's what this does to you. That is one. Second, the biggest advantage, I would say, the macro level outlook that you develop while you're preparing for this exam. Because for other exams, what happens is you're generally reading about either, you prepare in silos, rather you read about some specialization. Here, you're reading about everything which moves under the sun or does not move, I would say. So, you read about international affairs, you read about coffee plantations in Cuba, to Siberian tigers, to whatnot. You read about everything. So it actually gives you a sort of not only confidence, but sort of, relating things from one discipline to another, understanding on how things have evolved in the world and how you can contribute, if any, to a certain extent in whatever little capacity. Because the world is so big, you get to know after you seriously, undertake such sort of a study. So that is another, building a macro perspective. It makes you so diligent. It makes you hardworking. It makes you, you can do all-nighters if required. So while I was at Niti Aayog, we were doing this output-outcome monitoring framework. I used to take my sleeping bag. I used to sleep in Niti Aayog for almost a week. People told me I was crazy. I told them no. This is an opportunity where you are, getting to work on a national framework, and this is once in a lifetime sort of a thing, where it might not come tomorrow again. Because I know how such opportunities come and knock at your door. So I did that. It makes you so diligent. That is another skill that I'm carrying forward. I think the biggest skill out of all of these would be the transdisciplinarity or sort of multidisciplinarity, because the world is moving towards that sort of a paradigm. It is already, if you look at any curriculum, if you look at engineering curriculum, they also talk about social sciences. If you look at social sciences curriculum, they also talk about the evolution of technology. So we are already moving in that direction. And something like a UPSC preparation makes you ready, and it also makes you appreciate, let me tell you this on a lighter note, it makes you appreciate that it is not just engineering and medical science around you. Dude, there are so many other courses which are so important. People used to be like, you're an engineer, wow, that's amazing. No. If you don't have public administrators, you don't have political science graduates, you don't have economists around you, you get to appreciate other disciplines. Sociologists, psychologists. I mean, it is so much more to the world rather than just engineering or medical science that we were running after. So that is another, that sort of appreciation comes in, and that's what you do. And because you're preparing for something so big, eventually you also get, as I was talking about project management certification and everything, you that's a project in itself. You learn time skills, project management skills. You learn prioritizing. So all these things sort of come naturally in the process. So these are some things which you take forward, and later on, maybe whenever you're working, you can sort of flaunt them to your seniors. Okay, I can do that and not this. You learn a lot.
Right. So,
I write from Kelp Forest to Kepler, everything.
all right. So, guys.
Yeah, that's what I mean, bro.
Right. So, also, I was just curious to know, has your idea of like working in government changed as an aspirant, and then I'm sure you had some sort of idea when you were preparing, when you started working in government. Has it ever changed how you see government? You know?
It has in a way. I could again hasten, but I'll try to answer. Okay, so it has. I thought government was this, fantastic, well-oiled machinery which works to give the perfect results. But that's not true. Also, trying to, sort of post mistakes, it keeps making in the process. There's so much room for improvement. Government is not the perfect machinery. That is number one. Number two, it has the monopoly. So you better call it the perfect machinery, or you have nothing. There's no other option. That is number two. Number three, that slowly, eventually, government is gaining this sort of, maturity to open up gates for people who are knowledgeable, who are specialists, who are experienced, etc. For example, if you look at the US spoiled system of bureaucracy, carries the bureaucracy in and out with him or her. So that is open gates in India. I will not say they are actually driven from the US system, but the whole idea of recruiting joint secretaries from a lateral perspective is coming up from different countries. The Scandinavian countries also follow suit. So, government, in some aspects works very, very good. As again we've read in public administration that there are some things which the government will be very good at doing, and some things which the government is just doing for the sake of it, unless there is a better competitive player or they are making that ground ready. So it is, when I entered the government, I understood that, okay, things might be improving in the Indian government scenario, but still, if you look at it today, we are way, way far from being perfect, number one. And there are very good change agents which simultaneously, parallelly exist. For example, Niti Aayog, I would say, the whole system of government laterals is amazing. When I look at a ministry like Ministry of Rural Development, which is a big ministry which is introducing change, Ministry of Finance, these ministries are, actually working in a very, very sort of transparent, technologically upgraded sort of ways. So, and there are some ministries that I would not like to name, and departments which are still working like they were, before independence kind of a, Indian civil service days. So it's a very heterogeneous kind of a situation here. And slowly the change is happening. That is the perfect part, the best part about it. I would say that is the only perfect part about it, that the change is happening continuously. There is not a day that a good change does not happen in the government system. So we are all moving towards those enabling dashboards, enabling evaluations, enabling feedbacks, enabling newer frameworks of working, etc., where things can actually, the outcomes can rather come in a much faster and easier way in different programs of the government. So yeah, that way. And when it comes to government lateral, I think it is challenging currently because nobody wants to leave their terms, especially, and you also end up meeting a lot of bureaucrats which are very biased, which will not look at the good work you're doing, and sort of just judge you by the number of times you visit their office for a cup of coffee. So you have such bureaucrats also, and then you have Mr. Amitabh Kant, you have my current boss, Mr. Vimaljeet Singh Kalsi, who is the National Chief Mobility Disabled person. They are people who are far-sighted, who have a vision, who know what sort of capacity a person has and how to drive that particular capacity from that person. So it is a mix. Heterogeneity is existing here, and it will take some while to actually make it a perfect system.
Right. So I was just going through a couple of questions also. Something that I thought will benefit people. Did IRMA have any entrance exam, and was the application are other rural management degrees? Do they require you to have to give an entrance exam? That was one question. And the other question was on any step or any decision that you right now think in retrospect you could have taken differently with respect to the UPSC preparation phase and taking the exam. So
I'll just reiterate the second question. The first question was very clear. The second wasn't. I think second was more about was there any decision which I would want to correct if I go back in my UPSC journey and maybe make it better so that the results were different. Something like that? Okay. So for the first question, of course, dude, I mean, if rural management was so easy and free, everybody would do it. So there is an exam and there's CAT to it. That is the, how to belt the CAT, of course, the common aptitude test. I think that's what it is called. Been ages now. So of course, the CAT is one common exam, and then you also have IRMA has its own exam on social systems, on development paradigms. So it takes another exam with a couple of GDs and an interview round. So IRMA has a very rigorous sort of an examination pattern. Other rural management exams, rural development programs also have exams, but there are some which are easier comparatively. If you look at NIRD, it has a basic sort of in-house exam and not CAT and otherwise. So you need not have a 95 percentile plus to give an NIRD sort of an exam. Then there are others which have a lower cutoff in CAT. So the sort of, the labor that you need to put in goes down. But my days were the CSAT days, so I did not even prepare for CAT. I mean, that was sort of easy. So otherwise, yeah, there are exams, CAT being the uniform one across these. Second question. The only thing I would do differently is I would handle my emotions more maturely. I would not, get disturbed by small, setbacks and missing my timelines, or sort of even big setbacks of not making to the list finally after the interviews. I would prepare harder with more grit, determination to finally crack it if I get another attempt. But this is too late, and the people who are giving it now should work on everything else plus the emotions. Generally, I find people not studying hard enough, not knowing what to study, or maybe, giving in because of the competition which is so high. With me, none of these were the factors. The only factor was my own self, which was my emotions. So I was sort of an emotional person. I am an emotional person still, but I am much more mature now because I have seen sort of emotions backfiring and sort of taking you a step backwards in the whole journey and preparation. And I should rather have not wasted those 7-8 days after my first and actually put that sort of preparation in the whole next attempt. So I think that is one. You should handle your emotions very carefully. There are bigger setbacks in life. UPSC is not, and you should not. Okay, so I'll just use this Hindi phrase there. UPSC se dil mat lagana. Jo karna hai karo, dil mat lagana. You can keep giving UPSC. You can have a plan B ready. Dude, love a boy, love a girl. I don't care. We are advanced, whatever, liberal country now. Don't love UPSC as much that you actually give that exam everything. So that is from my experience. I'm telling you. I had great ambitions, in terms of not only entering the police service, but I actually, read about security paradigms, international, security, whatever, XYZ. I read so many things. My room was crazy. It's sort of if you've seen that movie, Kajani, it was covered with all sort of, ideas and plans and what I would do. So that was a bit that too much. I would rather say, keep your emotions right for the exam, give the exam, and not be too emotional about it. Yeah. I think, Jeel, I've lost you.
Your
I can't hear you. Jeel, can you type your question? If you can hear me, can you just type your question quickly? You are, but you're breaking in between. Okay, so I can read a question. I'll try and answer that question. Does writing down your emotions help in emotional distress? Of course it does. Now I got to understand about it. Way after I did my UPSC preparation, dude, it helps you a lot. So you should do that very often. And there are techniques of writing, not just writing, in a certain way that your mind tells you to, but there are various techniques to write down your emotions. Please do it that way. Emotional intelligence, of course, that's what ethics paper teaches us. I don't know whether it instills that in us, because had it instilled that in us, maybe the story would have been different. I think, Jeel, you can write your this thing question if you have, because you've just frozen on the screen for me.
Can you hear me, see me now?
I can.
Audible now? Right. Okay. So, okay, cool. So I think you took a couple of questions. There is one more on, did you pursue MBA during your preparation?
I did. I
think you clarified that
during the preparation.
Take a minute.
Although I was taking it as a plan B, but I was studying almost, I would say, 17 hours in my MBA, where 5 to 6 hours were including my classes for MBA. Remaining 10 hours for civil services. So I was doing it parallelly.
That must have been hard. All right. So, I had a lot of parting words for people who are currently preparing. I'd actually want you to give your 2 cents on those people who probably exhausted their attempts or don't want to pursue it anymore and want to move on to a career in government, but maybe laterally. So, what would you say to them? How can they go about planning this, if at all there is a possibility to plan it? And what are the things they should do?
So there are 2 ways to it. Again, the supply and the demand side. First of all, you have to make your own self ready to be, have the skill sets or certifications which the government would want to have or see in your CV. For that, as I touched upon, all these programs, which are, public policy programs, rural management programs, programs with respect to political science, economics, etc., data analytics, you can go and do a 2-year program, 1-year program, etc. That is number 1. Number 2, keep a tab on all the ministries, all the institutions, websites such as Niti, Aayog, World Bank, ILO, multilateral organizations, even the embassies for that matter. And there are some common websites. Like, for example, there is devnetjobs.org, devnetjobs.org. Then there is ngobox.in. I don't know why they call it NGO box, because they keep posting about all the government, non-government, and multilateral jobs, but they still like themselves being called NGO. Okay, but they post about everything. So that is another. They also post about all these big NGOs like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Red Cross, fraternity, etc., etc. So that is why maybe they call themselves that. So these websites, as well as the websites of all the ministries and such institutions I covered, will keep coming, even the United Nations for that matter, keep coming up with the job vacancies. That is how you can keep a tab on them. Number 3, if you know somebody who's working in this system already. For example, me in this case, or maybe somebody who is already working, they can tell you on how to apply and how to make your CV in a way that your CV gets shortlisted, and then what to do for the interview preparation. So that will help. And apart from all this, of course, if you're having a good day, you can make it to Niti Aayog as well, like I did. Yeah.
I like how if nothing, the one thing that away from UPSC preparation is the belief in luck. Because there is a possibility that a lot of things can go right and a lot of things can go wrong. So, yes, I think that was a very, very fruitful session. Thank you so much for touching upon all these things. Is there anything else that you would want to say that we probably didn't touch upon but you'd like aspirants to know?
Okay. So, I think I was just going through these questions. I'll just see if I've answered all of them. I think there are a few. So, somebody says, does a person say, can a person help you like a girlfriend? Then somebody says, sir, can you again? Sorry, I missed that. Anyways, so
Okay.
I'll answer that one. Dude, a girlfriend or a boyfriend can definitely help you until they are not eating on your time for the preparation. If they are, of them. And because, the point is, they can help. If they can help you emotionally, nothing like it, because you require an emotional support, either from your family, your friends, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend. Not only emotional support, you will also, sort of, again, a part of emotional support only, you will get to relax, go out with them, rejoice, and have, again, your energies back for preparing. But if you only start living in with that person is preparing or you are preparing, and both of you, are not preparing and, watching Netflix all day or whatever, doing XYZ, you cannot, of course, clear the exam, because this exam requires at least 15 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours study. And you cannot just, let somebody else eat your time. So, yeah, so it's a two-edged sword, I would say, or a coin which has both sides, a good side and a bad side. If you find somebody who is mature enough, who can actually supplement your preparation, you can discuss articles with her or him. You can, discuss topics, and maybe if you've seen Aspirants, that little series there, that sort of a relationship would definitely help you prepare and become an IAS one day. That chap did become an IAS, maybe also because of that lady in that program. So that way, yes, but also no for majority of the cases where you actually end up wasting time. I would not say wasting time on the person, but wasting time of your preparation. There are two different things.
Right. So I think that's pretty much it. If there are any specific questions, we will also direct it to you, because there may be some related to how one can, look at Niti Aayog and look at other government ministries and entities as possible options for moving from UPSC. But any other thing that we've missed and you can probably and you wanted to talk about, you can probably let us know.
So
and then we can wrap up.
Sure. So I would rather want to talk about what Sargam and Jheel are doing currently. Such initiatives are actually required in the country, and I would appreciate everyone that was attending this particular session talk to other people about joining their community, and not just this particular community, but also help other people who are actually toiling hard, not just for exam like UPSC, but other such things in life which actually take a toll on your mental health. You should engage in discussions, understand the other person, his or her thinking about the particular thing that you're going through, or whether that person has some experience of his or her own, so that you don't end up thinking that you're the only one who's facing everything in life and everybody else is having a chill Instagram. That's not what it is. Actually, everybody has his or her challenges, and such communities are a great way of reliving, or rather sharing your experiences, so that other person gains from it. And even through the virtual media, these can be stored and then circulated, so that other people who are actually not gaining access from you, from meeting you directly, can look at these videos and, gain some sort of a confidence that, okay, even though today I'm facing so much emotional turbulence or trauma, maybe tomorrow I can do something. For example, I'll just give you a brief example. My father, when I was preparing for civils and I just had an engineering degree, told me that why don't you apply for positions with the World Bank or United Nations? I never told him why. I knew I could not because I did not have that sort of a certification. I did not have that sort of an experience. So slowly, I sort of chalked out my journey. I did not have that this sort of a community earlier. Rather, this is also a new effort. So had I known somebody who would narrate this to me earlier, I would definitely go for a public policy kind of a program, a rural management kind of a program, and then I would, chalk my way towards being a part of a World Bank. Now I am much more closer of being a part of the World Bank. I don't know that is not on my list right now, but I'm saying I am much more closer than I was maybe 7 years back, 6 years back, because I have experiences with Niti. I work with the National Skills Regulator and setting it up. I'm sure somebody at World Bank is looking at me right now. So, this actually avenues which in my case, I chalked for myself. Luckily, I was, fortunate enough to do it. But in some cases, people would not get that idea. So such videos, testimonials, communities are a great way to do it. And I cannot thank Sargam and Jheel enough for creating this. And in whatever way possible, I can be a part of this, I will be. And I'll try to buy some stake in their company.
What we'd love to do, since you mentioned it and it struck me, we could actually have a dedicated session on how we can, develop our profiles for the public policy space from UPSC preparation, how one can do their CVs up and do their resumes up for a career in public policy, how they can, prepare their profiles. So if that could be some sort of a separate session, I think that would be beneficial for a lot of people.
Definitely.
So yes, that is
I can display my own CV. And I am a very transparent person. I am not like the government. So I will. You don't need to file an ITA. I will display my CV. I will show you what all I have done, what all projects I have undertaken. Also, I am somebody who's very active on LinkedIn. I keep posting about my projects, my publications. I'm actually too proactive on LinkedIn. People tell me that, you even brush your teeth and put it on LinkedIn. I do that. So, sort of it helps also to create the outreach. So if anybody is interested, please go to the LinkedIn profile and go to it in detail and see what sort of work done, what sort of skills, what certifications I have. And then, to sort of have a similar trajectory. I'm not saying that I'm an inspiration for you. You can probably learn the process. So, and if you have any sort of comments for me, please leave those in my LinkedIn inbox. I would learn from you guys on how to, develop my skills in a better way. And you can also, in the meanwhile, look at my skill set, experiences, and sort of build a strong profile.
Right. Yes, I think we should wrap it up now. This was an extremely engaging session. Thank you so much, Love. And if we can, we'll try and do another more slightly specific session on how one can develop a profile. But like Love said, he is available on LinkedIn, so you guys can reach him out if you have very specific questions with respect to the public policy space and government lateral entry programs and how to work in government. Thank you so much for so honestly, candidly sharing your experience, opinion, and being so transparent. Unlike a lot of institutions in the country, this was a transparent session, a very open session. Thank you so much for doing this, and we will be in touch. The community is very grateful to you, and
grateful to the community.
We are rooting for all the work you're doing here today and maybe
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining, everyone.